Now I invite the last speaker of this track, Mr. Arman Aghwani from Jaipur, India, IGet Healthcare. Arman Aghwani was born in 1988, has done BA in Islamic Studies in 2013 from Islamic Online University, Qatar, and Diploma in CUT, Diploma in Cupping Therapy in 2014 from IBAM Kolkata, Sujok Level I and II in 2014 from International Sujok Association, Moscow, and he is having from India Paranormal Society, New Delhi, and currently processing CPAC, Certificate Paranormal Investigation from the Paranexus University, U.S.A. Florida. So I give the permission to start, please. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Good evening, respected gentlemen on the dais, respected chairman, and my dear friends and my colleagues and ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to present my speech on the topic diagnosis of a spiritual illness and its treatment. Now, there are various perceptions and various definitions of spiritual and spiritual diseases. Person have various definitions of spiritual. There are, but the main thing is that the dictionary definition of spiritual is relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. It has the synonyms non-material, incorporeal, intangible, otherworldly, ethereal, and metaphysical. Mostly, people have the notion that spirituality means something related to a person's own conscious relationship with God or living life. And they are of the opinion that spiritual ailment originate from a person's self-belief, self-conscious, disturbed harmony of mind, negative views and thoughts, etc. Let's give a thought on this. We know the reason behind every disease in human is foreign infiltration or influence, with exception to congenital diseases. Even our thoughts, which originate from outside, can cause or influence our ailments. So the same rule applies in the case of spiritual diseases, that is, they are caused by foreign unseen influence and not the inner one. Mainly we have the notion that something which is unseen, it has no existence, it has no scientific evidence, how can it trouble human, and how can it cause diseases to human. But in reality, if something is unseen, this doesn't mean that it has no existence. We know about gravitational force. It was unseen and unknown until the apple dropped on Newton's head. And there are various other examples in world which are not visible to human eye, but it has existence. Example, energy, magnetic force, electromagnetic field, UV rays, X-rays, gamma rays, radio waves, etc. You can make out from this visual of electromagnetic spectrum. The visible light comprises only a small portion of the spectrum, and the rest of the spectrum has radio waves, microwaves, infrared, UV, X-rays and gamma rays. They are unseen, but they have their effect and they are well known. So, spiritual disease is something which is caused by an unseen thing, energy, being, or whatever you call it. That point is not clear, most of us, because we are just focusing on our energy on the physical aspect of human diseases and problems. Numerous researches going on, scientists, doctors, therapists working all around the world in this sphere. But the point emerges is that who in the world is researching about the cure of diseases and problems which are metaphysical in nature? That is a big question mark. The answer to the above question lies somewhat in paranormal research and investigations. Paranormal is a general term used to define experiences that cannot be readily explained by the range of normal experience or scientific explanation. Paranormal research is the science of study and investigation of unseen phenomena. It is not a new term. It is going on from decades. But in the modern time, with the use of modern sophisticated electronic gadgets and research methods, we can now detect the presence of any unseen force in a particular place. Now this is possible to detect any unseen activity, any negative force which is causing trouble at a particular place with the use of paranormal investigation. Many eminent scientists and researchers explain the reality of the existence of the unseen forces based on these researches. An investigation is carried out by using sophisticated gadgets. The logic behind using these instruments is that unseen forces are composed of energy and they cause disturbance in the energy fields of the surrounding. These instruments are used to detect unusual EMF disturbances, sudden temperature differences, infrasound voices, etc. Now there are various gadgets and equipments used in investigation. I'm depicting here only a few of the gadgets. There are hundreds of gadgets like that. We have the ELF zone meter, the digital recorders, EMF meters, IR thermometer, the K2 meter, laser grid, tri-field natural EMF meter, and geyser counters to monitor these parameters. Now, the other healing systems which are also based on invisible concepts and theories. According to Chinese belief, Jian, the living world where people exist in reality, is referred to as Yang Jian. The underworld where the spirits exist and live is referred to as Yin Jian. This is according to Chinese belief. And even in Chinese traditional medicine like acupressure, acupuncture, etc., there is a concept that every disease occurring to human body is because of the misbalance of qi energy in the body. Qi is an invisible energy running in the body, and all ailments and problems are caused due to the imbalance of yin and yang. And also in the meridian system of the energy meridians present in the body, they are also invisible, and same is the case of chakra system and nadi system of Ayurveda. So in the Chinese traditional medicine and all the meridian systems and the chakra system, nadi system, these are also invisible system. They do not have any physical existence, but we know that they exist and they have a very much influence, and we can treat diseases by studying these things. They are the meridian system running through the body, the 7 chakras and the nadis. Now we have learned about the unseen things or unseen forces, something about unseen forces. Now we will be learning about how people used to tackle these unseen forces or how they cure problems from time immemorial. It is present, exorcism is present in major religions and traditions. Exorcism comes from the late Latin exorcismus from Greek exorcismos, means binding by oath. It is a religious practice of evicting any malicious evil unseen force from a person or a place which is believed to be possessed. The concept of possession by evil spirits and the practice of exorcism are very ancient and widespread. In Christian exorcism, Jesus is portrayed in the New Testament as the premier exorcist of his time. Thus, exorcism became an important part of the tradition of early Christian church. Exorcism is performed in the church by showing the cross and sprinkling holy water, etc. And the same is in the Hindu tradition. The Atharva Ved is said to contain the secrets relating to magic and medicine. Many spells described in this book are for casting out demons and evil spirits. And in the Buddhist system, the Buddhist exorcism is performed by a temple's chief priest and his assistant, reading an appropriate sutra, the scriptures of Buddhism, and burning a special incense. Spirits are driven out of the body by causing physical discomfort such as fasting, bathing in extreme cold water, or slapping the skin of the possessed person. The same is the case in Jewish exorcism, which involves 10 people, including the rabbi, who surround the possessed individual. The rabbi that leads the ceremony also requires a shofar, a ram's horn, a trumpet to blow, and the group repeatedly recites Psalm 91. Similarly, in the Native Americans, they use symbolic rituals and another ritual to cleanse the body. And the Korean shamanism, it also encompasses the indigenous beliefs and practices of Buddhism and Taoism. In Africa, they are called witch doctors, which perform exorcism. Now, the position of eminent doctors with regard to possession. The American academic Herbert Carrington, a prominent investigator of psychic phenomena and author, said in his book, The Modern Spiritual Phenomenon about Epilepsy, he says, it is clear that the case of epilepsy is at least a real fact that science cannot ignore. Its study has become a necessity not only from the academic side, but also because hundreds of people suffer from it in our time. Dr. Bell said in his book, The Analysis of Unusual Cases in the Treating of Ailing Minds, he says, we have a lot to discover, especially that related to spiritual epilepsy, as it represents a factual cause to many psychological and neural illnesses. Similarly, Dr. James Haslin said in his book about spiritual possession, he says, it is an extraordinary effect by which an external conscious spirit influences the mind of a person and his body, and also it is impossible to deny the occurrence of spiritual possession. According to Dr. Carl Wicklin, insanity may occur when a spirit possesses a sick person's body and causes his mental disturbance. And among those who confirmed the existence of epilepsy caused by spirits are Dr. Barrows and Dr. Alexis Carrel. They stated that medicine has been unable to cure this phenomenon. And now, what Islam says about these unseen forces? What is the concept of these forces in Islam? Islam explains in detail about all the unseen phenomena or unseen creatures causing trouble to mankind. What the scientists and researchers have proved about the unseen forces existing in the world in present time. Almighty God explained all about this 1400 years ago in his book, the Holy Quran. These unseen creatures are called jinn. The Quran explains that all the unseen forces which have the ability to influence us are due to the unseen creatures called jinn, which exist in parallel dimension with us. These creatures come in contact with human because of any reason, like out of love, for pleasure, revenge, and when they are forcefully sent to human body to carry out different evil works. This is called magic. So magic is simply an evil art of forcefully making a jinn to enter a human body through doing some specified evil acts, which is done by a magician or a witch. The exact meaning of possession according to Islam. Normally, in common terms, whenever the term possession comes to our mind, we create an image of a human behaving abnormally, speaking unknown language, screaming weirdly, etc. But the reality is that when a jinn enters or influences a person's body from outside, the person didn't even know that this is happening to him in most of the cases. He doesn't show any abnormal behavior mentioned above, and this process of possession is silent and it has the influence on that person without being noticed. Now, the abnormal behavior of the person mainly starts when we do the process of exorcising, which is called Rakia Sharia, on that person. Rakia Sharia is the name given to the process of exorcising or healing a person influenced by jinn possession, magic, and evil eye through Quranic recitation and prophetic methods. Now I am giving here the various symptoms of the patient by which we can detect or which are helpful in diagnosing the possible patient of a spiritual dysfunction. There are many symptoms which indicate about a possible spiritual dysfunction. The patient may show variety of symptoms mentioned below without any clear physical cause. Many symptoms are very similar with psychiatric problems, such as the person may feeling tight-chested, pain in the lower middle of the chest, also called solar plexus, hatred of job, apathy towards society, study and love of being alone, imagining having done things, having a pale face, bluish or blackish marks on the body without clear causes, repeated headaches, sudden fevers, etc. Too much fighting and disagreement between husband and wife or among family members over minor matters, imagining having visions while awake, feeling lazy, inactive, fatigued and having a weak appetite for food, repeated feeling of imbalance during walk, repeated hearing of noises in one or two ears, having pain or bleeding in the womb, particularly during menstruation, or having unusually repeated periods, becoming very angry for the slightest reasons, insomnia or persistent desire to sleep and suffering from heavy sleep which makes it difficult to wake up, having continuous pain moving in one's lower back, waist or between shoulders, apathy towards remembrance of God and towards good deeds, being unable to have erection intercourse on the husband's part while having no desire to intercourse on the wife's part, and experiencing sleep paralysis. Now there are various symptoms which occur in dreams. These are very important in the diagnosis of these things. Dreams play a very important and vital role in diagnosing. These are those visions and things that a patient sees repeatedly in his dreams. Nightmares. When a person sees something that worries him in a dream and he wants to seek help but could not. Seeing being chased with intent of doing harm and bitten by unknown creatures. To see animals in a dream, this is a very important indication of that illness. Seeing of a snake, dog, monkey, cat, lion, lizard, ants, termites, bulls, etc. When a person sees these animals one or two times or many times in a dream, if these dreams are persistent, then this is a very much possible case of such a spiritual disease. Laughing, crying or screaming in a dream, seeing oneself wandering in some unknown place, plains, forests, desert, palaces, forts, remains of buildings, etc. Seeing oneself flying in air or above cloud. To see oneself in a dream falling from a high position, a building or a cliff. To dream of dead people, being in a cemetery, a refuse place or the deserted road. To see people with some strange features, or seeing people wearing completely black or white clothes, seeing strange shadows of people, seeing lots of water or water body like river, lake or ocean, seeing blood, seeing raw meat, seeing and experiencing some unknown person forcefully having intercourse with oneself. Now there are various symptoms which occurs during the Rukia recitation. Rukia recitation is just reciting of the verses of the Holy Quran on the patient. When we recite the verses on the patient, these symptoms may occur. The patient may have an epileptic fit. He may feel tight-chested, quick movement of eyelids, loud screams, laughing, crying for no obvious reason, change in patient's voice and the production of strange sounds, severe headache, feeling dizzy, getting nausea and vomiting, feeling heaviness or numbness in the limbs or feeling extreme heat or cold in them, varied pains that move around body, involuntary movement and shaking of limbs, speaking without being conscious of one's own words, too much sweating, particularly in the back, tears and runny noses without good reason such as common cold, too much yawning, feeling much fatigue during the Ruqya therapy and having no interest in completing it, a shaking feeling spreading all over the body, losing consciousness and snoring, etc. Now, how we can treat these problems? The treatment of jinn possession, magic and evil eye in Islamic medicine. God says in Quran in Surah 17, ayah number 81, He says, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاء. That means in English, He has revealed the Quran which has a blessing and healing. So Ruqya Sharia is the process of exorcising or healing a person influenced by jinn possession, magic and evil eye through Quranic recitation and prophetic methods. It is an integral part of the Islamic or Arabic system which is unfortunately unknown to most of the alternative therapists. If we talk about Islamic medicine, the Islamic medicine is incomplete without the mention of Ruqya therapy. Islamic medicine comprises various things such as prophetic medicine, Tibb Nabwi, Hijama therapy, etc. But without the mention of Ruqya therapy, it is incomplete. So, in Ruqya therapy, we apply Quranic recitation and supplications of healing proved from Sunnah, prophetic medicines such as Zamzam water, olive oil, black seed oil, apple cider vinegar, Sanna leaves, jujube, cedar leaves, etc. And Hijama therapy, of course. The treatment is done by using a holistic approach towards the ailment. Now I'm mentioning the procedure of treatment. How is the procedure goes? The step 1 is initial counseling and assessment of the patient. In this step, we take a complete account of patient's past and present ailments. We check all his medical reports and examinations. Then we ask the above questions about symptoms and dreams and note down the ones the patient affirms. So, in this phase, we first rule out the cause of the illness, which may be a medical, a psychological, or a psychiatric in nature. If we found it, then we refer the patient to respective qualified medical practitioner. But if the above symptoms and dream patterns are found prominently in the assessment, then we move towards step 2. The step 2 is the Ruqya recitation and preparing medicines. In this step, we recite the selected verses of the Quran which deals with jinn and magic in the ears of the patient for several days. A session lasts for between anything 1 to 2 hours long. Then we give the recited water to drink and bathe with jujube leaves, oil to smear on the body, honey, vinegar, and intrusion of Sanna leaves to consume, and Ruqya recording to be listened twice a day by the patient. The patient is required to use all this until his symptoms subsides. Now the third step is the use of Hijama therapy in treatment. Hijama therapy plays a very vital role in the treatment. Hijama therapy is one of the most beneficial prophetic remedies, and it clears all the waste materials from the body, and it also clears the waste material due to the spell of witchcraft. Cupping has great results in both spiritual and physical illnesses. Cupping is a method of detoxification for not only the stagnant blood or physical waste from the blood. It is a means to detoxify the spiritual waste also. When Prophet, peace be upon him, was bewitched, cupping was done on his head to remove the effects of sorcery. That point is known as Mughith. Cupping also relieves the painful spots of the patient, if any. There are some of the points which we can apply Hijama on the patient. On the first pick, we have the points on the spine, 4 points on the spine, and then 2 points on the lungs, 1 point on the stomach, 1 point on the liver, and 2 points on the kidney for the total detoxification of the body. In the next visual is the point on the top of the head is the Mughith point. It is very important point in this, and the 2 points beside this and 1 point in front. These are very important points. In the third pick, the 3 points on the chest are also very important, and the points on the jugular veins. Now the fourth step is the state of total possession. When we do this treatment, when we recite Quran and we give patient the oil and water to use, anywhere in between these phases of treatment, the jinn possessing the person may cry out and start to speak through a patient's mouth. Because of the effect of Quranic recitation, Tib medicines and Hijama on the patient. In this case, we counsel and command the jinn to leave the patient's body, and if it refuses to go, then we torture and burn them with the powerful and rigorous Quranic recitation without causing any harm to the patient. And after this, the follow-up treatment. After this step, the patient is told to continue listening Quranic recitation and use all the medicines for some time, and after this he gets completely cured from his illness by the will of Almighty God. I want to show a video description of a typical patient, how we go with the process, because many of you are not used to the Rakia Sharia. It is a new topic before you, and it is a new therapy before you. So I want, before concluding, I want to show how the process goes. Here in this video, the patient is a lady around 40 years old. She has been suffering from jinn possession from around 19 years. When she came to me, her condition was very much deteriorated. She was very much in pain. She had a constant pain in her solar plexus area, and her whole back used to pain, and she has pain in her lower abdomen area, and she has gone through various medical treatments, but for no result. She has been suffering very badly, and she has been suffering from also insomnia because of this, and having bad dreams, nightmares, and dreams of snakes and animals and all types, and other bad dreams also. So in this I am reciting the verses of the Holy Quran, and after reciting around 1 hour or so, the symptoms of the patient, the symptoms of the jinn appears. Here you can see. Yeah. You can also term it as a temporary epilepsy, but the patient is not a chronic patient of epilepsy. It is just first time she is behaving like that. Yeah. So, and in the second video we can look. I'm not doing anything. I'm just holding her head and reciting the holy verses of Quran, and look how she is behaving. And the other video, in the third part. In this whole process, the patient goes into a complete unconscious state. And now here is the patient, the jinn from the patient is speaking, not the patient herself. She is in a complete state of unconscious. After the therapy, if you ask her what went, she would not be able to answer that. So this is a depiction of how the jinn speaks through a patient's mouth. I'm counseling the jinn and asking him the reasons for possessing her, why he came, and what are the problems he is causing to her, what is his main motive and objectives, from how long he is into her body. And in the last we by rigorous after counseling of the jinn, we recite Quran loudly into the ear, and it leave in a quick go. Now, note in this at this moment the jinn has left and the patient just came into her sense. So this is a